Good morning, Cincinnati, and welcome in to another edition of the Bearcat Brunch, brought to you, as always, by our great sponsor, Royal Links Golf Tours. Have you always wanted to play golf at St. Andrews? Have you ever enjoyed that perfect pint of Guinness in Ireland? Well, now you can, thanks to Royal Links Golf Tours, a golf tour specialist offering unforgettable golf experiences in Scotland, England, Ireland, and Wales. Their custom itineraries are more than golf trips. They are immersive, cultural, and country experiences that will surprise and delight you both on and off the course. Royal Links Golf Tours is owned by former Bearcat quarterback Hayden Moore and his partner, UC alum Jeff Bartholomew. So if you'd like to play St. Andrews or Ballybunion, please visit their website at royallinksgolftours.com or call them directly at 770-331-1525. And with that, we are live for, took a week off, but we are back on a busy off-season edition now. You know, it's been quite a couple weeks. Sorry we couldn't be on last week. Jeff had some work things going on. I was not feeling great. So, it is what it is, as they say. But we are back and better than ever, ready to roll, talk some Bearcats, talk some coaching staff, talk some transfer portal, some recruiting, a lot of Bearcats in the NFL, maybe touch a little bit on the bowl game. I guess this will be our only show before the bowl game, so I guess we need to touch on it more than a little bit, since it is next Saturday. But good morning, Jeff, and how are we today, and what would you like to start with? I guess we don't have a game. We don't have a big takeaway, to go on. So what would we like to discuss first?
You want to start with let's start with the whole coaching thing, because the last time we were live, Luke Fickle was our head coach.
He was.
And that seems like it was so long ago.
It does seem like a while ago now. Absolutely.
But hold on, let me try and get this thing put out.
And good morning, Holly. We're trying to get things up on the
we're lacking a producer today.
Yeah, we're trying to get some things going here. So I'm gonna get some stuff up on the Twitter.
For some reason I can't see the chat, so I don't know what's going on with that. God, this computer. All right. So Scott Satterfield, App State, Louisville, Cincinnati.
Let me get to something real quick. To John White's question, not kicking things off with the shootout. No, this is a heavy football show. We might talk about it at the end, but this is a football-centric show. There will be, believe me, there will be plenty of shootout discussion tomorrow night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, whatever night we Bearcat Journal pod, but I don't even know yet because I don't know the basketball schedule when their next game is. But there will be tons to talk about for that. We're going to stick to some football stuff in this one.
Yeah. You'll hear more about Army Navy than that game here.
So I did get it. Was able to get it up on the Twitter, as did you. So
see, we're
trying. We're trying. Amateur,
we're not just a couple of pretty faces on this show. Although something's going haywire with my thing, and I literally can't see the chat. I can't, obviously I have a green screen behind me, and there's nothing there anymore. It's just green, so whatever. All right. So I know I said this on Tuesday. I'm going to say it again here for anybody that wasn't there Tuesday to hear it. When the name popped up, obviously it wasn't a name, wasn't really a name that I considered, because I didn't even really know it. And it was a little bit I don't know, I guess you feel like maybe you get to this point as a fan when you have a coach like Luke Fickle who's been around for a while. You've had some success. You feel like everybody and their brother is waiting for that specific job to come open so that they can take it. And maybe that was the case. Maybe there was like a, I don't know, hugely extensive list, but I don't think it included, some of the big time crazy names that everybody was throwing around, myself included, this network included.
Do not throw me in that group.
Dave has already went out and purchased a Prime T-shirt that he was going to wear.
I was never on that train.
So across, but the name comes up. You see it. Went ahead and started looking into it because it didn't do like trigger any endorphins or anything crazy in my head about like, oh yeah, that's the guy. But upon further review, I think we've landed a pretty solid head coach that kind of has a grasp over what he needs to do here, especially with the hiring or retention of Kerry Combs. It's like the master key to the local recruiting scene.
For sure. I mean, I've given I think I've talked enough about when it first happened instantly, and then also Monday night. There's not a lot new that I have on just the hire in and of itself. But yeah, you're starting to see a coaching staff come into focus, and I think this will be a good opportunity for us to kind of be a little newsy and just kind of give people an update on where things stand as far as coaching staff, guys in the portal, guys, opting out of the bowl game. I think there are going to be more guys opting out of the bowl game, but I'm not going to name names because they would obviously have an announcement, and that's just an opinion. It's not like I'm sitting on something and so player is going to announce it on Wednesday and I'm letting him do that. Like, it just makes sense that some other people might do that as well. But we'll get into kind of like a little bit of a newsy thing on here. Just looking at, you have Scott Satterfield as the head coach. Offensively, the staff is Pete Thomas coming with him from Louisville as the quarterback coach. And to this point, kind of seems to be, out there off, on the recruiting front. He's throwing around some offers to some 2024 high school quarterbacks that are pretty highly regarded. It seems like he might have some inroads in Maryland too. So Brian Sims, who's a current commit, goes to a pretty prestigious, pretty well high school in Maryland, and his quarterback was offered by UC, who had a Louisville offer. So there's some connection with Pete in that program, in that school. They had their running back just decommitted from Boston College. So I don't know if we'll go after him at all, but there is a connection there on multiple levels. And then you have Nick Cardwell, offensive line coach, also comes from Louisville, has some experience with Scott. I think played for Scott at App State, offensive line coach at App State. We obviously saw Luke Kandra transfer from Louisville back home, elder grad to Cincinnati. He talks well of Nick Cardwell. I think players at Louisville seem to like him a lot. And then that's it on offense right now. And then defensively, you obviously have Kerry Combs, 3-year contract, which is something you basically never see from an assistant coach that is not, I guess he's a coordinator, he's a special teams coordinator, but outside of an offensive defensive coordinator, that is a very rare contract, which to me says two things. One, we really, really didn't want to lose him. And two, hello, Big 12 money.
Right.
And because why else? What else? You're not just you don't get a larger salary pool and just start automatically like getting random dudes from all over the place who are really highly sought after. Like, you still want the continuity. You're still Satterfield was always going to bring some of his guys. He might bring more. He might not. I have no idea. But guys are just going to get pay bumps. That's just how it works. Like, you're not just hand picking. It's not like you're going down the grocery aisle.
And deservedly so on some of them.
Oh, for sure. It's not like you're going down the grocery aisle going, I'll take one of these and I'll take one. Like, it has to make sense. Like, you have to, you're not just getting 10 random assistant coaches because you have more money to spend. So then Brian Brown, defensive coordinator, not sure exactly what position he's going to coach. He has coached DBs in the past. They said Carey would be the secondary coach, so we'll see what position he also coaches. And then Derek Nicholson, linebackers coach, coming from Louisville as well. So that leaves 4 bodies, 4 people that they can hire. How they divvy up the roles is yet to be determined, but you have 4 spots of your 10 on-field assistant coaches still to be hired. Obviously, offensive coordinator is the biggest of that lot, but you're looking at likely a wide receiver coach as well, tight end coach, defensive line coach. Those are kind of, if you were pegging them as like roles, those are how you would go about it. But the offensive coordinator will also coach a position. So you basically have 4 people left to hire on field. So, obviously Carey's the big one there. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, we said it, that he's I called him the master key to the local recruiting scene. Obviously there was one kid on Louisville's team from the Cincinnati area, and he's transferring back through the portal back to UC, Luke Kander, who you mentioned. So this kind of gives Scott the ability to make connections a little bit that little bit quicker with high school coaches in the area. And we all know how important that is, because when you don't make those connections with high school coaches in the area, things don't necessarily go well for you here. And it doesn't seem, I mean, I know that Scott was up here and he recruited Evan Prater. That was mentioned. He recruited Corey Kiner. He just didn't land a lot. I mean, I think the one that he won was Luke Kander, and now he's coming back with him. So to have Kerry Combs on the staff, I think, is the most important. I know that Pete Thomas, the quarterback coach, we've mentioned that there were some connections with California, like a California quarterback pipeline, but we weren't really sure how much of that was the NIL money. I mean, obviously there's relationships and things built there, but there's some Adidas NIL money and things going on with that. I believe the running backs coach, Darrell Sims, is also coming back, right? Do we talk about him?
Yes, I did. Okay. Forget that. Yeah. Darrell Sims, running back coach from Louisville as well. Was at East Carolina prior to Louisville, recruited Keaton Mitchell, recruited Rajay Harris. So, obviously helped develop those guys as well. I think he's only been at Louisville for 1 or 2 years. So has a good eye for, Keaton Mitchell was one, a low 80s rated recruit when he went to East Carolina. So has a good eye for talent, can also, develop, Louisville rushed, granted, quarterback had a lot to do with that as well. With their 2 main running backs, around 1,200 yards, 1,300 yards, about 6 yards a carry. So they ran the ball fairly well this past year. But sorry, I forgot. I did forget to mention him, but it doesn't still change. Still 4 spots. To me, the Carey thing is like, I think he's a good coach. I'm not going to go as far as to be like, from an X's and O's standpoint, he's like a really good coach, a premier defensive backs coach. I mean, the special teams was really good again. That's just part of that's. I mean, I think that's an important thing for Fickle. We'll see how important it is for Satterfield. I mean, certain teams really, really care about it, and you can tell the ones that don't. They just kind of give special teams to a coach, and it's not the emphasis that it is at UC. So keeping Carey there, I think we'll keep it as a pretty big emphasis. But to me, more than anything, it is the keeping the Bearcat mindset, the Cincinnati mindset, the yes, of course, we want to recruit Cincinnati, but it's like inside the program, the mindset, Satterfield's going to come in. He's going to have his way of doing things. I mean, it's going to be different than the way that Coach Fickle did things. That's just human nature. That's just how coaching changes work. But being able to keep Carey kind of allows, the tough and nasty, the Bearcat, the Black Cat, whatever analogy, whatever term you want to throw around, like it allows that to still be in the locker room. It allows that to be comfortable for the players. And I think that was hugely important. And like you said, like that allows him to help Scott and whatever other coaches need to like make the introductions I'm sure they already know a lot of these guys, but it's a lot different when Kerry walks into a school with you than if you're just walking into school by yourself. Like he's not getting stopped walking to the coach's office. Like, you know, some new assistant is going to the front desk saying, I'm X from UC. Can I please speak to whatever head coach? Like,
exactly.
Kerry has that relationship. He's, you know, the way schools are now, yes, he's probably checking in somewhere, but like he knows exactly where to go. He knows what to do. Can you carry this for a second?
Yep.
Sorry, I got to jump off real quick.
Absolutely. So his point that Kerry is not getting stopped going in to make the introductions, like I said, so that Scott can kind of hit the ground running, and the rest of the recruiters can also do that. While he's jumped away, I'll pop through some of the guys over here that have hit the portal since the coaching change has happened, and unfortunately, I can't see the chat. So if you're firing some things off, I apologize. Obviously, on November 27th, we had JQ Hardaway. Unfortunate cornerback he hit. He has not gone anywhere according to the portal yet. Actually, none of them have signed. Anybody from UC that's gone into the portal hasn't looked like been picked up anywhere. JoJo Bermudez, wide receiver. Jake Renfro, that one hurts. Losing him. Jaquan Shepard, wide receiver. Ryan Coe, our kickers. So I think we're I can't remember who Chad said will be kicking for us in the bowl game. We already talked about Lucandra. Noah Potter, who came here, I believe, from Ohio State. 4-star guy. He defensive lineman, productive, gone. Jaden Thompson, who started to kind of show out towards the end of the year there, gone into the portal. Leroy Bowers, safety, into the portal. Mario Eugenio, also into the portal. And yesterday, Patrick Body Jr., another wide receiver, has gone into the portal. On the defensive side of things, coming from Louisville, Brian Brown has come up here following Scott Satterfield, and he had the defense down there. I spoke on this on Tuesday. Their defense was also a pretty aggressive defense. Tackles for loss, sacks, they did tend to give up a lot of big plays. I think that was more of an issue early on in the season for them. I don't know that obviously I didn't watch like a ton of Louisville football last year, so I don't know that how big of an issue it became towards the end of the year, but they do seem to kind of have the same mindset on defense that UC had.
Yeah, it seems like they play 3-3-5 with a little bit more pressure from their linebackers. So, I mean, I've tried to watch a little bit, and I've seen a lot where they're like bringing 4 or 5 guys with 2 rushers kind of towards the snap. Did you get to some of these questions while I was going?
I can't see the chat.
Oh, you can't?
No, I can't see the chat, so right. I don't know what's going on with that.
We'll get some of them in here. Kevin asked, what's going on with the indoor practice facility? When are they going to start breaking ground? I think soon. We don't really have anything confirmed, but at least nothing that I've seen. But the rumblings that I've heard say fairly soon, which would be good.
Scott's mentioned wanting to help put that shovel in the ground, so
that's right. Eric mentioned Amari Gaynor from Florida State. Yes, Florida State linebacker transfer Amari Gaynor is in town for a visit. We'll see how that goes. Just keep an eye on his teammate Keyshawn Helton from SFU as well. Good one. I'll definitely do some digging there. Amari Gaynor posted on the board. Interesting one. You don't see this often when a guy enters the transfer portal. The head coach retweeting his I'm entering the portal tweet and just throwing tons of praise on how good of a guy, how good of a leader, all these things are. And he's a good player too. He's their current leading career tackle leader. Has over 200 tackles. So I think it was a matter of positional. They're moving to more of a 4-2-5. And it seemed like he's not quite an end in a 4-down alignment, but not really a middle linebacker when you only have 2 linebackers on the field. So it might be something more in the positional reason is why he's leaving, because he clearly is a well-liked guy and productive as well. So there's got to be something along those lines. Let's see, what else do we got here? John asks, any chance our guys who entered the portal come back?
We did go over all of the guys that have gone into the portal since.
Okay. I had that pulled up. So you talked about that?
Well, I just went down the list of them, starting with JQ. Unfortunate for him, because I know he's pretty high on a lot of people's lists as a dude. But none of them have committed elsewhere.
There's always the chance with this group that is in, based on what I know / think, I don't see it happening, but that doesn't mean it won't. Some of these guys, especially the younger ones, not necessarily a surprise for multiple reasons. New staff, they weren't recruited by these guys. They don't have that relationship. So
my thing that I brought up was that a lot of the guys that I would think that it would be more of a potential that the guys that hit the portal right away when Luke left would maybe have a chance of being able to be brought back, as opposed to the guys that left into the portal after the new staff gets there and have a chance to speak with the new head coach, maybe as some of these position coaches come in and they have a chance to talk to them and kind of figure out the way that the program's going to run and how well they fit together. That those guys, when they hit the portal, it's kind of, maybe it's understood on my end, and it might not be this way, but they've had a conversation with the new coaching staff and have come to some sort of decision here now that this isn't going to work for me going forward. I need to hit the portal. Whereas the other guys may have hit it on emotion alone. Luke's gone, I'm out of here.
I think, it's hard for me to, but the new coaches aren't going to really know much about these guys. Mm-hmm. So, obviously they'd love to have a Ryan Coe or Jaden Thompson back. But the young guys that have never played, I don't think they're going to spend too much time trying to get them to come back. Just because they need to work on guys that they can bring in, guys they know, whether it's through high school, whether it's through transfer portal stuff. Then the older guys, they're well, I don't know any of these. I Noah Potter, for instance, he's already transferred once, came here to play for Luke. Luke leaves. It's hard to imagine a guy like that sticking around.
That's fair.
So I don't see about any of these guys coming back. Could be wrong. You have some that I wish would stay. Obviously, Jaden Thompson, Ryan Coe, Jaquan Shepard, JQ. But
yeah, if they did, thing is if they decide that moving on is best for them, and have at it. They're most of them are I don't know, they've had some time here, and if the new staff doesn't, if they're not meshing well with that new staff, or they believe that they have opportunity somewhere else to play more, show what they've got, have at it. Wish you the best, but it kind of lands in the same boat as Luke Fickell. Like, see you later. Thanks for your time here. I'm not really gonna super follow any of these guys.
No,
as they leave and go somewhere else. But I don't have any ill will towards any of them.
No. Jeffrey asked, aren't we also 4-2? No, we're more 3-3-5 with, I guess, sometimes a fourth guy kind of coming down and hanging, but it's still a linebacker. It's not a traditional, two defensive tackles, two defensive ends. UCF Superfan says if JQ commits to UCF, then we'll know he was a spy. If JQ, now I know Jaquan Shepard has the final two of Maryland and UCF, but if JQ Hardaway goes to UCF, that means things fell apart because Tennessee, several other high-level Power Fives are interested in him. So I don't see him going to UCF. But, who knows?
I don't want to see that either.
Maybe I get to cheer for him next year as a Vol. Who knows?
No, there you go. In that situation, you then would follow him.
They need defensive backs badly, so I'm sure they're trying their hardest with him. But then we have recruiting weekend. We kind of talked about it on the board. Plenty of info. We're not going to just run down everybody on here. They go to the board, check that out. Lots of good stuff on there.
Mm-hmm.
But they're kind of doing it as two recruiting weekends in one. If you saw the tweet from Amari Gaynor, you had the traditional Friday, Saturday, which was a lot of the high school kids that are already committed to UC and some high school kids that are committed to Louisville, were committed to Louisville. And then they're also doing a Sunday, Monday, because in his tweet, the graphic said December 11th and 12th, which is out of the ordinary. You usually just come in on a Friday, all day Saturday, breakfast on Sunday, leave Sunday sometime. But now looks like they're going to be doing some transfers, at least one. We'll see if there's others on the 11th today and tomorrow, rolling right into another visit weekend next weekend. We'll see what that entails. But yeah, they've got a lot of ground to make up, and first and foremost, got to get firmed up commitments from as many of the guys in the current class as possible. Yes, a lot of the coaches have left, but they also committed to UC because they just liked UC. Coach is a big part of that, but they have a pull to UC. So you want to try to, keep as many of them as you can while supplementing with other high school kids that you have strong relationships with. Obviously, the portal will be huge, but I feel like I've said this a million times. You cannot take kids just to fill spots that you aren't sure can play, because with the 25 rule being gone, which is before you could only have 25 guys in each class, 85 scholarship players total. That is gone. So you could take a smaller class this year and have a much bigger one next year, whether it's high school kids, transfers, and still be at your 85 without adding a bunch. This team does not need a bunch of freshmen just being on the roster.
We talked about that, though, even before the coaching change.
Right. That they didn't need a bunch of freshmen, that they needed some older guys, some more experienced guys.
It's the way of football now in the NCAA. You're not going to have a big pendulum swing of your momentum just with a big class of freshmen. Interestingly enough, reference Amari Gaynor. Some folks in here probably, and I do have the chat back now, so that's awesome.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
Thanks to Aaron. He jumped in the chat and we forgot we turned it off. I forgot we turned it off for the interview we did with Brian Fox and John Cunningham.
Copy. I don't know if anybody remembers the last time we had a linebacker transfer come from Florida State, and that was Jeff Luke. I never say his last name right, but he did pretty well for us here. And there was a story that was shared about him when he got here that he was able to rip somebody's face mask right off of their helmet during practice. So that's an interesting story. I think, yes, Natalie, and I don't know if it's Luck or Luke. I never say it right. So, but Jeff Luck was a linebacker transfer from Florida State, so it came here. I was like in the 2013, 12, something like that.
Yeah, I think so. Natalie asked, "Are we still waiting on current roster guys to say I'm staying, or will those guys announce after?" It's kind of whenever. You obviously Trey Tucker, Josh Wiley will not play in the ball game. They've made their announcements, and Trey Tucker's was fairly obvious when he got the Senior Bowl invite. You usually don't. There's really no reason to play.
You don't go play in that
in
and
the
then
Fenway Bowl. Josh Wiley the same. Now two guys interesting that have not said anything yet are Charles McClellan and Lenny Taylor, because Charles McClellan was invited to the Hula Bowl and Lenny Taylor was invited to the East-West Shrine game. So, conventional wisdom says they're not going to play, but then we saw they were at practice the other day, and the B-roll that the news were shooting actually saw like Charles McClellan carrying the ball. So maybe he does play. I don't know. We might just have to wait and see.
Yeah. That's going to be interesting to see who's actually lining up where during the bowl game. I know that we've kind of like talked about how it's strange. I did look to see about maybe going up there for the bowl game, just because I've always wanted to go to Fenway, and it might be the cheapest ticket to get into Fenway of all time, even though it's not a baseball game. There were tickets that are like tickets are like 20. I think I saw a large group of tickets between like $20 and $50 a ticket. If flights weren't outrageously expensive, I would have grabbed some tickets and headed up there with my oldest. But unfortunately, it's like a 12 and a half hour drive otherwise.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to do that on Friday, go to the game Saturday, and then drive back 12 hours on Sunday. That would be a little ridiculous.
Yeah, I think there'll be, obviously if Jaden Thompson's in the portal and Nick Marner's in the portal and Trey Tucker's already announced, like, you can put two and two together and say wide receiver is going to be a thin position.
Yeah. Marner's not listed in the portal over here.
Yeah, I noticed he wasn't in the 24/7 listing. I mean, he obviously said he was entering the portal, but and then you have JQ, you have Jaquan Shepard, Arquan Bush is an older guy. No idea if he's going to play or not. Some other guys may or may not play. So corner could be a thinned out position as well. But from everything I've heard, like, there's a lot better participation the other day than I was expecting, especially on the defensive side. Like, sounds like the main guys. Now, obviously, things can still change, but you're only a week out. So, like, you're going to travel in a couple days.
Yeah.
So if you weren't going to play, why would you be practicing all of last week? Doesn't make a ton of sense to me. But defensively should be a lot of the main guys. We'll see if Dante can play. I mean, he obviously didn't play their last game, so we don't know his health status.
And we know he's all in on all in.
He's all in all the way.
So if he can play, I assume he'll be out there.
Natalie said, yeah. So she was talking more about guys coming back for the 2023 season. Okay. So the biggest one that I can think of that has like a true NFL decision to make is Tyler Scott. Don't know anything about that decision. I'm sure it'll come public soon. And then there's obviously some guys that have that still could come back for the COVID year. Have not seen anything or really heard anything. I think that stuff is all gonna. There's so much it's just a lot different with the coaching change. There's so much going on with the new coaches. You know, they might have had a conversation with Fickle, but now with the new coach, maybe they're like, I'm definitely not coming back, or maybe they're thinking, well, this is my chance at kind of like a fresh start. And to impress a new coach and maybe get more playing time than I was getting. So there's just so many variables that go into all that. It's hard to handicap it, hard to really judge who's going to do what. I think Malik would have a chance to play in the bowl game if he wanted to. I don't know if he's been going through practice. I mean, he went through a lot of things before the Tulane game. I don't really think it was ever an option for him to play in that game, but you know, we'll see. He could
still come back. He
actually could still technically come back.
And we haven't seen anything one way or the other with him as far as like I know he's been here for a while. So, you know, does he want to? Yeah. Does he want to just?
He has the chance to be a Jabari Taylor, Will Huber type.
Speaking of Jabari Taylor, the interview he did in the bubble the other day, it instilled some, you know, a little bit of run through the wall for that kind of guy.
Didn't get to watch it. What did he say?
I mean, he just talked about like finishing out the, you know, wanting to finish it out the right way and be out there uplifting guys, and, you know, things like this happen, and just the way he spoke on having the seniors out there wanting to finish it out well with those guys, wanting to finish his career with a win, all those kinds of things. And then, you know, Wilson Huber basically echoed a lot of that when he spoke, and they followed obviously Kerry Combs, who when he, I mean, I know he probably isn't looking for another career when he's done with his football coaching stuff, but as a motivational speaker, like that guy, and maybe he already does motivational speaking stuff somewhere, I don't know, but holy cow, that right there, really, his interview there kind of solidified the, like, you gotta go make sure whatever you need to get him to come back.
To me, it was always a, what does Kerry want to do? It was never like,
yeah,
he could have retired. I did not see, knowing his family, knowing the extended family, like, I did not see him uprooting again and like
going to
Wisconsin, going to some like, I saw him retiring, staying at UC.
Colerain's got a head coaching spot open.
Colerain does. The University of Dayton is still, I believe, looking for a head coach. He went to UD. Their last coach built a pretty darn good program. So I'm sure, or, you know, it wouldn't surprise me if they showed some interest in him, and maybe he looked at it as like that one last chance to be the college head coach type situation. So, but yeah, it's super.
But even that, like, I would have thought that maybe he would like that last chance to be a head coach until his comments. Like, he kind of, you know, he's just one of those guys that gets it. Like, you know, he realizes that that no one name is more important than the program. And I'm not saying that Luke thought that way at all. I don't believe he did. We've been kind of blessed around here to have some coaches that didn't necessarily think that. And he pointed out, he's like, you know, the guy that sits at the end of the hall, you know, is far less important than the kids that are sitting in the locker room. And, you know, somebody tried to sneak a question in at that point in time because we didn't know if he was coming back or not. And he was like, this ain't about Kerry Combs. It's about these boys. So
yeah, I mean the guys have gone through a lot. Like you got to build them back up. You got to reemphasize that. Like yeah, Luke did and his staff and did a lot of good things, but you were a main reason why those good things were able to happen. So yes, things have gotten crazy. Things have been unforeseen changes, but like you can still you still matter. You still have a chance for another 10-win season. Like that would be five double-digit win seasons in a row. That happens very rarely anywhere around the country. Not just like the premier blue bloods of the country see that sometimes, like some runs like that. So
and as awful as having a bowl game on December 17th is, it's kind of like it's almost like a blessing that the game is. It was like there wasn't a lot of time for these guys to like sit around and be like, oh, our head coach left us. Like, oh, these guys, like they just had to kind of roll right back into full on practice, getting ready, preparing for another game. And I think hopefully that kind of the guys that are still here are still in that like playing mode of like I'm not gonna like throw away this last chance to play with my boys or my buddies, like whatever.
Right. Yeah, definitely. If the game was say after Christmas or something, this definitely makes you snap back into like get that stuff out of your head. You're done with finals. Like you just concentrate on football for a couple weeks, and then you're done. And you can take the time to make the decisions that you want to make. And
I don't even know if they had. I don't know when UC's like quarter or whatever ends, but like I don't even know if they really had time to go home for like what, because I'm pretty sure when games are after Christmas, there's a time where like the guys go home and
oh yeah, for sure.
Because I remember like when my buddy played at Notre Dame way back when, and they were in the Sugar Bowl, and he came home and actually ended up flying from like his flight was from here.
A lot of them do that because they basically give them like travel money, and then they can get the cheapest flight they want and then pocket the rest, and then they end up flying. A lot of them, I don't know if they still do that, but yeah, they definitely used to do that, where I think now they all come back and then they fly down together. But I definitely remember that like guys would get like $2,000-$3,000 to find a flight, and they would spend $400 on some flight that takes like 6 layovers and
and put the rest of the money in their pocket.
Keep the rest.
But yeah, so like they didn't even have that chance to like go home and have family and friends kind of be like, oh, do you really like? Is this really, what you want to do? You just want to pack this in maybe and move on to your next stop or whatever some of these guys are going to do.
For sure. So it sounds like there's good energy there. I don't think we're gonna see one of those classic SEC didn't want to be here bowl performances. Now they may not win, they may not play well. I mean, you're down to like 5 coaches. I think you have Nate Letton, you have Carey, you have Walt, you've got James Ross. I don't know. I do not think Gino is involved. I do not know about Mike Cummings. So you have like 5 coaches. You're going to have quality control guys and grad assistants. And so who knows how it's going to go.
Yeah, but it's all on the same sideline.
And Louisville's, frankly, in like a worse situation coaching-wise. Because they obviously have no head coach. They have the 5 guys that have come over to UC already. Then their offensive coordinator just took the Western Michigan job, so I don't think he's involved in the bowl game.
I think their strength and conditioning coach, who obviously doesn't have a lot to do it like this, but still like getting guys.
Yeah, he went to Arkansas.
Like, he left for Arkansas, but they got Jeff Brown back, so
they do. Maybe he can.
The prodigal son has returned.
That's right. But yeah, it should be interesting. Same sideline, baseball stadium, half the coaching staffs for both teams, players players opting out. Malik Cunningham's not going to play. Their backup quarterback is not good, just to put it mildly. So, we'll see what the defense can do to that. But yeah, should be great. Should be a whole exciting 11 a.m. kickoff Saturday.
That was another thing. They asked Jabari Taylor about that, about both teams on the same sideline, if he'd ever like encountered that before, and he was like, "No, man, that's weird as hell." Like I don't. And Wilson Huber was like, "I'll keep my guys in line." Like he's like,
I think you should just let him go.
Just put everybody. What they should do, just put everybody in one thing, and then just call out positions, and whoever runs out there from whichever team. It's just a backyard, like Thanksgiving Day turkey bowl.
Like barricades. Like, how do you actually keep the sidelines separated? Like, what are they going to do?
There's going to be maybe some Gatorade jugs, probably the keg of nails in the middle.
I think they should have put Scott Satterfield up on like a lifeguard's chair in the middle there, and he can just kind of like yell to both sides. Yeah.
Oh man, that would be. I think that would be more beneficial to the Louisville side.
What if he told him to do like the wrong things, and then they had to figure out if he was like screwing with them or not,
messing with them or not? They're going through that. I don't know. It's going to be a very interesting situation that they've got going. Like, I don't know how they couldn't orient the field so you could have teams on both sides. It just doesn't seem like a good idea. I don't know. Will certainly be interesting. They did ask Kerry Combs if he actually it was Chad asked Kerry Combs if they were going to implement the classic Kerry Combs triple option. He said that I think they attempted. I don't know if he's joking about it or what, but he said they tried to put it in and they these guys weren't ready for that. So probably won't see too much full on triple option. Although if you're gonna do it, like, I mean, Evan Prater is probably your a solid quarterback to run a triple option offense through with his athletic abilities and running, being probably more of a running kind of quarterback.
Oh, I think it would be awesome. Like if Chuck plays and you have Evan, Kiner, Chuck, and Monty, like, doing the triple option, that would be hilarious. Now, it's pretty hard to implement in 1 week.
In 1 week?
Work of practice when you've never done it before, especially from a blocking standpoint.
I was just saying, I mean,
pretty
how many of these kids
pretty unrealistic, but
how many of them came from a triple option? Like Wyoming doesn't run a triple option. I don't think Roger Bacon runs a triple option.
No, Roger Bacon ran give the ball to Corey Kiner every play.
Yes, exactly. They got on his shoulders and let him carry him as far as they would go.
But it would be funny if they did throw in a couple wrinkles. That would be enjoyable. But
a couple of things like that. Huh?
I think we'll still have. Obviously we're gonna have plenty of news. So stick with the board. Stick with us on Twitter. Like, we're gonna have a lot of transfer stuff still going on. A lot of Mick, I'm sure, will have reaction to the visits. Still have coaches to hire. I don't know if it'll be quiet this week until after the bowl game, or I know Scott had put an emphasis on trying to find his strength and conditioning coach as quickly as possible, but I'm not sure with like bowl games kicking up and stuff like that, like how quickly you'll hear an offensive coordinator hire. That person could be I would imagine they're still coaching. And maybe doesn't want it out there until after the game, or who knows. The assistant coaching carousel will go on for a long time. Like, it feels like the head coaching carousel went very fast this year. There's only about 4 or 5 jobs still open, and none of them will cause like a big domino effect. Now, granted, the NFL could still throw a huge wrench into all of this on a national level when they fire their 6 or 7 guys in January and undoubtedly target a Jim Harbaugh. Like, Jim Harbaugh to the Colts is like one of the most slam dunk things ever that they're going to try. Not that he's going to necessarily go.
Yeah.
But Jim Irsay wanting Captain Comeback to come coach the Colts seems pretty damn obvious to me. So we'll see if he's able to persuade him to do that. Obviously, that could possibly set off huge dominoes.
Another round.
Yeah. So, but the assistant coaching moving and shaking is going to go on for a while. So I don't know if we'll necessarily hear something, this week or not. But we'll definitely be hearing stuff from recruits, from transfers. There's over 1,000 guys in the portal. I mean, I saw it the other day. There were already over 100 wide receivers and over 200 DBs in the portal.
And the thing with the portal,
yeah,
those guys aren't guaranteed spots somewhere else.
No, absolutely not.
And I know that we talk about it that like the portal technically is open behind closed doors. Before that, with there's still that kind of thing going on where it's like, hey Dave, you want to come play here? Like, if you hit the portal,
did you see the quarterback from Boston College, Pete Jerkovich?
Because he came from
he's from
Notre Dame.
Yeah, from Notre Dame, went to BC. I think he's from Pittsburgh. Like, he entered the portal and practically committed to Pitt within the same tweet. It was that fast. So yeah, it's impossible to enter the portal on December 5th and go on a visit December 8th without maybe a little bit of behind the scenes conversations happening and things of that nature. So a lot of that still going on. We'll see what happens next week with visits, because they pretty much brought in almost every current commit. Some either didn't come because they didn't want to. Some didn't come because they had something else going on or couldn't make it. So we'll see if any of those guys come this coming weekend for a visit. But I'm thinking it'll be a lot of transfers if they have more guys visit, while the bowl game is going on. Coach Satterfield has talked about having recruits in and watching the game. So we'll see what that does. I do love what Natalie said. She's hoping that a Louisville player during the game takes his jersey off and comes and puts what UC one on, transfers over during the game. That would be pretty hilarious.
I mean, that essentially is what happened with Satterfield. Have you ever? I know this is bouncing back in a little bit of speculative talk here, or whatever. But have you ever? Can you remember a head coach leaving one school to go to another? After the bowl game's been announced.
I do not know of any situation where the coach is leaving one school to go to another, and they are playing each other in a bowl game. I don't know of any situation like that.
I mean, it's similar to. I mean, I know that sometimes in baseball, it happens rarely, but it does happen where a guy gets traded and switches clubhouses in the middle of the game or right before a game starts.
Yeah.
So
hold on.
Oh, Natalie says she'll never forgive Luke Pandra for bypassing this opportunity. I think that would have been hilarious, Natalie, to see a guy he's in the middle of the game, just drops his helmet, takes his shoulder pads and jersey off, and he's just walks right down around whatever barricade they have. Maybe even he just brings the keg of nails over. Maybe waits till the end of the game. UC wins, and that guy rips his Louisville jersey off and comes running over with the keg of nails over his head to bring it and deliver it to the UC half of the sideline. That was my idea, Dave.
What's that?
Instead of fourth quarter swapping hats, you wait till UC wins the game.
Go celebrate in the locker room.
You drop all your Louisville gear on the field, and then you deliver the keg of nails over to the UC half of the sideline.
Go celebrate with your new winning team.
With your new teammates, you always have the keg of nails because it's not like they're going to play again after this. So, it's all in good fun.
Are you ready to talk about the big Bearcats in the NFL news?
This is the first. I think this is the first week where we're not going to lead off with the same guy,
Sauce Gardner.
Yeah.
Hey, the Falcons. So the news is the Falcons are going to start Desmond Ridder. next week. They're on a bye next week when they play the Saints. And all I have to say is you're about a month too late now that you're out of the playoff picture in what is a dreadful NFC South. The Falcons have slipped now to 5-8. And if you did this a couple weeks ago, maybe you'd have a chance to be in first place.
Yeah. Because
Tampa Bay is terrible as well.
I did not know that the Falcons were on a bye this week. I'm a little bit disappointed. But I guess maybe that was their plan all along, was to wait till their bye week. I think it's a silly plan, especially with their bye week being so late in the season. But
it's a silly plan because they were in playoff contention and they were getting nothing out of their quarterback.
I was going to say it wasn't like he was lighting the world on fire down there, and that was the reason.
They weren't in it because he was carrying them.
Exactly. So you should have made that move a little earlier. We'll see. It's good for us. It's good for us to have some.
Oh hell yeah!
To talk about it. Wilson Huber found out about it in the middle of his interview the other day.
Yeah.
I think it actually again was Chad was like, hey, did you hear about what is happening down there's some NFL news out of Atlanta, and he was like, oh, 9 I'm gonna have to call 9, and then he was like, oh, I guess he's 4 now, but he'll always be 9. He's like, awesome, I'm gonna have to send him a text message. I might call him. So those guys it's nice to see that's still that's kind of the culture and whatnot that's been
for sure
implemented here, that they're he's still rooting for his guy.
So we had
we'll see how that goes for him.
Oh, I can't wait. I mean,
not that he has a ton of weapons or anything to use.
No, they're going to run the ball. They're not going to do anything different. But like Mariota had like some of the worst accuracy on deep ball pass. Like they were just missing wide open throws. And when you're a run heavy team, you can't have a quarterback that's holding you back. So I did want to point out, looking at some stats from week 13 Bearcats in the NFL.
Yeah.
The UC, they tweet it out all the time. And they did have Travis Kelce, 4 catches, 56 receiving yards, but they did not put 1 fumble.
Yeah, the most important. I mean, he literally had his heart ripped out on that fumble. And I know that this is jumping the Bengals talk, but I did see a lot of people who were kind of like coming at Travis Kelce because in the New Heights podcast, they put clips of the podcast out.
Yeah.
And like the clip in the podcast was, Jason asked him about it. Obviously, he's like, "What's up with the fumble?" And he said, kind of handed him one there.
That's what they're always going to say.
But people took it as he was saying that, like, he just, whatever, handed the ball like it was not a good play by Pratt. But then he like continued after that to talk about how he was fighting for extra yards and they reached in there and ripped it out.
Yeah.
So Travis he's still not like he's not gonna put a guy on a pedestal and be like,
no, he thinks he should have held on to it. Of course he's gonna say that. Like,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Then there was more talk, like people were coming at him like, he doesn't do anything for UC. He never says anything great about UC. And I'm like, I had to go in there.
The donation that he's giving them.
The what's described as a transformational donation for mental health and wellness and that kind of thing at UC.
People just get very hung up on what school the player says on the primetime games that they're from for some reason.
And it's silly. I mean, he like reps his high school. Like, he doesn't forget where he came from, kind of thing. Like, he's not. I don't know. It's silly. Travis Kelce, the Kelce brothers in general, do like incredible things for UC. The fact that they wear. I mean, they're literally one of the biggest podcast. They are the biggest sports podcast and one of the biggest podcasts in general. And they have a video portion of it, and they are frequently repping UC gear. So, like, for people to say that's like what that does for the university as far as like, recruiting wise and all that kind of stuff is.
It's wild how big their podcast is. Like, I
It's
was
so good,
I was
though.
listening to it this week, and they were like talking about how they're like the third biggest one. They're like, yeah, I don't think we're gonna catch the Joe Rogan experience.
No, but
But like
the
just the fact that they just started this, and excuse me, and that they're talking football, which is a very like niche thing.
right.
Like, Joe Rogan has celebrity guests, whether they're comics or movie stars or educators or like, he has guests over a huge spectrum of things, and has like very long, like 2 to 3 hour in-depth conversations where you learn a lot. Like, so a lot of people from all walks of life, from all interests, can listen to that. We're like, there's very few people on the scale that are listening to a Travis Kelce, Jason Kelce football centric podcast, and for them to become that big that fast is wild. I don't know if they could have even thought that it would do something like that.
They're just incredibly good at what they do. Like their ability to tell stories and relate things is just unbelievable. And it's awesome that we can put a little tiny stake in it as Bearcat fans and say like those are our guys doing that kind of thing, and to listen to them talk, it's a lot of fun.
Absolutely. So, Alec Pierce had another touchdown last week, 4 catches, 86 yards. So another good game. Another good game. That was a
hell of a catch too. Did you see the replay of that?
I did.
Kind of a little. I mean, he went up and got that one, so we're used to seeing that here.
So we got 11 guys that they're highlighting, scratching in the stats. You got your Marquise Copeland's been playing a lot more for the Rams. He had 2 tackles. Kobe had 5 tackles. A quarterback had a pass defense. Sauce 2 tackles, a pass defense. Chris Moore had 3 catches for 46 yards. Eric Wilson back in the league playing with 2 tackles. I think for the Packers. Is that right?
I believe so.
But yeah, and then we'll get Dez next week, and
Derek Forrest still doing his thing.
Oh yeah,
5 tackles. Jerome Ford back returning kicks again. I think he's been back for a few weeks now.
Yep.
48 return yards. Kobe Bryant, you already hit on him. Mike Boone had 26 total yards.
For Jason Kelce, just an absolute dreadful Broncos team. I mean, my God.
Hey,
I saw some stat, and I'm gonna butcher the stat, but like their game against the Ravens, they lost 10-9 in a game that the Ravens did not have Lamar Jackson for most of the game. And like since 1920 or some crazy year, teams were 0-260 when they forced 2 turnovers, held a team to 10 points or less, and like some other stat. And now teams are 1-260 because the Ravens won that game somehow.
That's
the Bengals would be in first place in the division if they had just somehow beaten Brett Hundley or whoever their quarterback is. I don't even know who it is.
Like and Lamar might be like I've seen things like
he's out next week too.
Like okay, so now you're looking at least 2 weeks. Do they have a bye this week, or are they playing the?
No, they're playing somebody terrible because their whole schedule's terrible until they play the Bengals, the last game. But yeah, they play the Steelers. Actually, they could lose that game. It's in Pittsburgh.
The Steelers have like 87 different quarterbacks they can run out there too. So like and there's like no drop off because they're all not good.
But we'll get out of here a little early today. We obviously don't have as much to talk about. We'll hit quickly on the Bengals, who just beat the damn Browns, man.
Just beat them.
They've lost 7 out of 8. The Browns are not good. Deshaun Watson was abysmal last week against a bad Texans team. I cannot think that he's going to be that much better, and he better not be against a good Bengals defense. So you better stop the run, and you better – you just win. Like I said this 2 weeks ago. I said it last week. We're the best team in the AFC right now.
Oh, absolutely.
The best team in the AFC does not lose at home to the Browns, with Deshaun Watson making his second start in 2 years, looking the way that he did last week against a terrible, terrible, terrible Texans defense, where they scored because they returned a punt for a touchdown, and the Texans fumbled on their own 2-yard line, and the Browns picked it up and walked into the end zone. Like, the Browns offense did nothing in that game.
And James Palmer said that he tweeted out today that he was told that the Bengals actually changed their offense in Week 5 to give Joe Burrow more control over the adjustments, and that quarterback coach Dan Pitcher and OC Brian Callahan have helped the offensive evolution since then. And Cincinnati has gone 1-6 of 7, and Burrow has now moved himself into the MVP race since that change to their offense. So, and I think you've kind of seen that.
Yeah, I mean they went
Obviously.
to much more shotgun, almost exclusively shotgun, and really almost exclusively shotgun run, which, they were just very, very predictable. I mean, the joke was like, hey, it's second down and they're under center. What are they going to do? Oh, they're going to run the ball.
Right. And they're just going to do nothing special. Just
with Jamar back for another week. Myles Garrett has just given them fits every single game. So
and you've got P. Ryan and I think Mixon back this week. So
yeah, they just figure out a way to win. Get to 9-4. Set yourself up for these last 4 games and make a run at the 1 seed. Because with the win over the Chiefs, if they beat the Ravens, they've already got the tiebreakers on the Jets and the
Dolphins.
So if they win, they're gonna be the 1 seed because they'll have beaten. Assuming those teams don't, have just a better record, but they'll have the tiebreakers over the Chiefs and the Bills if they win those games. So they are still playing for the 1 seed,
which would be incredible.
Yeah,
with the start that they had when everybody everybody was coming out like, oh, is this the they are certainly not having the Rams, and I know the Rams are just absolutely decimated with injuries to the point where they had to bring in a quarterback who had 36 hours to figure out a playbook, and somehow brought them to a victory. But the Rams are in a bad situation after the Super Bowl, and it looked like the Bengals the first 2 weeks might be heading into a post Super Bowl slump, but they seem to have figured things out, and once again, a lot of fun to be a Bengals fan.
Yep. So I think that about covers it. We'll have plenty of shootout reaction
throughout the week.
We'll have plenty more football stuff. It's never, it never ends anymore. Obviously, we have the game Saturday. We'll be back Sunday to recap that, plus whatever new things shake out from recruiting. But thanks as always for jumping in the live chat. Love answering your guys' questions. Please subscribe to our YouTube page, Twitter, Jeff, myself on Twitter, Bearcat Journal, listen on iTunes, all those good things. We really appreciate it. Thanks as always to our great sponsor in Royal Links Golf Tours. Getting, it's still not quite golf season, but we're getting close.
There was a cool golf match last night.
There was. I watched a little bit of it. That was fun. Golf under the lights. But hit up Hayden, hit up Jeff. Get those awesome golf trips planned, and we will see you back again next week for. I don't know if it's going to be the last edition. We're going to have to talk about that. But with no more games to go, might be the last Bearcat brunch of the 2022 season.
Yeah.
So with that, we thank you and have a great Sunday, Cincinnati.